Hello, my friend, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Fool Writes Again, the podcast where I, Jinx, your host and imaginary friend, answers the burning question of what happens when you release a writer into the wild and he gets a chance to explore the world. So if you've ever been interested in topics such as plot development, world building, character creation, or even character motivation, then this is a podcast for you, so please stay tuned. That being said, on this week's episode, I'm going to answer the question of what happens when you release a writer into the wild and he gets the chance to explore the world of ukulele jam sessions. What better way to do that than begin with a couple scenarios? First one being this. Imagine you're an individual who has been trying to make friends for a while. You move to the town and there's nothing really for you to do. You're not interested in the bar scene. You're not interested in the hiking clubs and all that. You don't really want to do all that extra activities like that. But there's one thing you are good at, and that is you are a musician. And you just kind of wish you could play music for others and make friends. And while you're thinking about this and scrolling through social media, you encounter an opportunity. You see there's going to be a ukulele jam, which luckily for you, you know how to play the ukulele. It is the only instrument you know how to play. And this jam is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. And you say, I'm going to do that. So you buy a ticket to this jam, put it on your calendar. You get there and you discover it's in a church. And there are hundreds of other ukulele players there. And you think to yourself, this is going to be awesome. I am so ready to play my instrument with everyone else here. And hopefully I can make friends. What happens next? I'll admit that scenario is a little boring, so how about this next one instead? Imagine you're an individual who has learned about this amazing opportunity to learn an instrument. For as long as you can remember, you've wanted to play music, but you've never really had a teacher, and you tried to teach yourself, but it's never worked. So when this opportunity to learn this instrument comes to you, you decide you're going to do it because you really want to play music and make a name for yourself. So when the opportunity arises, you follow the individual that invited you. You don't really know who they are. You just know there's someone in the music scene. And you kind of trust them and you follow them to this church in the middle of nowhere. And you get into the church and you see there are a whole bunch of people. And immediately you realize you're not dressed appropriately. Every other person there is wearing matching attire and you are not. You stand out completely. But you think it's just because they're all part of the club and they've bought the outfits to go with it. You're brand new and you'll have an opportunity to get it soon. And as this meeting progresses and this music jam progresses, you start seeing everyone kind of start to behave oddly. Again, you don't think too much of it. You think this is just how musicians are. And one day you'll understand. You'll be like them. But the oddness of the situation keeps getting worse and worse and growing. And eventually, it's too much for you and you want to leave. This is too much of a situation and now you're kind of getting scared by how everyone else is acting. So you get up and you start to leave, and as you go to push through the front door, you realize the door is locked. You turn around and everyone is facing you. What happens next? If you're not feeling that scenario, how about this third one instead? Imagine you're sitting in a room full of a whole lot of musicians and you're just learning new songs and playing and having a good time. This is your environment. You like doing this. You like playing music with everyone else. And everyone around you are friends. You've known them for years. You get along really well and it's just fun. And as you're sitting there playing your music, you start hearing this loud thumping sound. You look around thinking maybe it's just you. But no, everyone else in the room has heard the sound too. And everyone just looks as confused as you. You're looking and you're looking, trying to figure where the sound is. And at this time, everyone has stopped playing the music. It's just quiet in the room, except for a few whispers here and there, and this loud thumping sound. And eventually, you realize the thumping is coming from under the floor. And now the thumping is getting louder and louder as it moves away from directly underneath you. And it sounds like it's going up a stairwell. Your eyes all turn to follow the sound, and now the door at the top of the stairs on your level is shaking. Eventually, a giant creature bursts through. What happens next? And because I like to change perspectives, how about a fourth scenario instead? Imagine you are a master musician. You're not part of any bands, but you just like to play music and create music for everyone. So you travel around the world teaching classes. Someone can book you and you'll go and teach music in their state or in their country whenever they do. And it's fun for you. You enjoy the aspect of teaching, and you enjoy watching as beginner musicians first pick up their instrument and start learning what you have to tell, what you have to teach. It makes you feel good. And one day, someone requests a lesson from you, and you think to yourself, sweet, this is what I live for. You immediately accept. You fly across the world to this little small town, set up your stuff, and go stand on stage, getting ready to teach everyone in there. But what you didn't expect when you got up there was that there was going to be only one person in the audience. You are teaching one person and one person alone. And that's not the worst of it. This one person, you know for a fact, has been stalking you. What happens next? Now that's enough of the scenarios. So let's get to the next part. The story behind them. A few weeks ago, I decided to go to an ukulele jam session. I'd never been to one before, though I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been to a lot of other types of sessions, just never one for an instrument. I've heard about them, and when the opportunity arose, I decided, yes, I will go. Partially because I wanted to see what it was like, and partially because I wanted to get better at ukulele. I'm one of the people who have spent their entire lives trying to learn an instrument. When I was young in grade school, my parents got me a guitar, and I've tried to learn guitar many times over the years. I get to a point, and I put it down, and I stop. Eventually, I moved out, got my own place, and I started collecting instruments. I have several guitars that I've tried to play over the years, and I get to a point where I can play them a little bit, but I'm not great. I have a bass guitar that I've tried to play a couple times, and I've never been great about it. I have a banjo, same thing. I've attempted it, never got super far. I have a violin because I want to learn how to play fiddle, and story the same. I snapped a string and I never replaced it, so I never learned it. I had a piano. I never tuned the piano, but I did know how to play it. I actually took lessons and was somewhat decent at the piano, but then I got rid of the piano and have nothing to practice on. And after that, I decided to pick up an ukulele. And I've started learning the ukulele many times, and now I have quite a bit of ukuleles. So I'm probably best with ukulele versus every other instrument I have tried to play because I've actually dedicated time to it. I go camping and I bring my ukulele with me to play. I go sit in the mountains and I play ukulele just in the wilderness. I play at home. It's easy, it's small. I can pack it in a bag and fly across the world and bring my ukulele and play it there. Though, that being said, I'm not super great at ukulele. So when the opportunity arose to go to an ukulele jam where I knew there was going to be a teacher coming from across the world to instruct, I'm like, yes, I will go sit with everyone else and learn from this teacher and hopefully get better at my ukulele. It worked to an extent. I learned stuff. I also realized roughly where I sit skill-wise. I know some aspects of how to play the ukulele. I don't know enough aspects of music theory to fully understand what the teacher was saying and get the full benefit out of it. So, it was useful, and I did get stuff out of it, so, again, it was useful. That being said, the jam itself was very interesting. I went with someone I knew, because they'd been going to the jam sessions for a while, and they invited me to one. I had nothing else going on that weekend, and I'm like, okay, I will go. This is something new. A new experience, something that I could potentially write about later, and something I can podcast about later too. And the first thing that caught me off guard is when we got there, it really was in a church building. Weird environment, small church, nice church, and there were a handful of older people there. Not nearly as many people as I expected. I was told there was usually 2 to 3 times the amount as showed up. Suspicion is because this was a session we had to actually pay to get into, less people would go. Most of the sessions are free, which makes sense. People would rather go to the free event versus the paid event. Though this being a paid event made sense also because they hired a musician teacher from across the world, so that teacher still had to be paid somehow. And that teacher was paid from ticket sales. So it makes sense. I get in there and I start sitting down and getting my stuff ready. And we're on the first floor. It took me a while to realize there was actually a basement there. And I only learned that because I really did hear sounds from the basement. And eventually, people swarmed out of a stairwell leaving, which made me realize there were 2 separate events going on in that church that day. There was the ukulele jam on the main floor, and then there was some other event in the basement. I don't know what that was. I didn't go down there. I didn't see signs for it. I didn't ask. I just know there was something going on in the basement. And then going back to the actual jam itself, It really was fun. The teacher taught me a lot of stuff. Like I said, I learned some stuff. I didn't understand it all because I didn't understand the music theory behind it. We were there for a couple hours. She taught us a couple songs. She taught us how to sing and play at the same time and get the hang of that. We broke off into small groups to play another song. We got back together. Eventually, she put on a concert at the end, and once her concert was over, she left and everyone else went home. Fun experience. I will probably go again. I'm not fully sure. I feel like I need to learn a couple other things before I go again so I can keep up. But again, it was an experience and I would never have had it if I hadn't decided to try. That being said, it's an experience that I was able to pull a lot of inspiration from. I got a lot of plot ideas out of sitting in my little chair watching everyone else around me. I don't know if you saw the correlation between my scenarios and my story at all. Some of it exists. The very first scenario is pretty simple to what exactly happened. I wanted to play an instrument and I was invited to a jam session, so I went. What happens at the jam session? A lot of different things can go down. Very open. It's a very basic scenario, but there's so many ways that can end. You could make friends there. You could be kicked out of this church. You could not be allowed in the church in the first place. A lot of people say, I'm not allowed in church. If I try to step on that ground, I will burn to a crisp. Maybe that happens in your story. You can change the genre. You can make it magical. You can make it fantastical or horrific or anything like that, just based on it. Because I gave a very broad scenario that is very easy to write to. That being said, I also created very specific scenarios. In my scenario of being brought to an ukulele jam and then not being allowed to leave, I essentially created a cult and someone was being sacrificed, at least in my story. I created the environment for it, so it's very possible for it to happen. Someone brings you to this church in the middle of nowhere, and you've heard things about this jam, but you don't know exactly what's going on with it. You get there, and all the members of this jam are wearing the exact same thing. Again, that's nothing too unrealistic, because even in my actual jam session, the members there all had merchandise for the jam. They're an actual group, so they have merchandise. They have shirts with their names on it. They have all this other merchandise with their names on it, so it makes sense. So in this other scenario where you're encountering a group with everyone dressed the exact same, it's not too unrealistic. It's possible, and it's possible for a new member to stand out because they haven't had a chance to buy the merchandise yet. But then you get in there and it starts getting creepier and creepier and you start hearing all this other stuff. And when you get to the point where you're scared and you just want to leave and now you can't and everyone's just looking at you, that creates a very terrifying situation. It's already weird enough that you went somewhere in the middle of nowhere surrounded by strangers. A lot of people don't like to try the unknown. They don't like to go and try new things. And then if you start taking them further and further out of their element, if you're used to a city, now you're in the woods in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of things that scare you. And now it's dark and there's shadows and everything playing tricks on your mind. More and more keep building up and scaring you. It's an opportunity to terrify your main character, but it's an opportunity to terrify the readers because you don't necessarily know what's going to happen next. You can play with that however you want. And then you lock everyone in this church. What happens? There are a lot of cult stories out there of what happens when a new member is initiated. Does the main character get initiated into the cult? Does the main character try to flee the cult? Do they survive, or is there a whole bloodbath in there? What is the cult actually trying to do? Are they truly as bad as they're made out to seem? Or are they just playing a part because they saw it on TV somewhere and they're like, hey, I want to try this one time. Maybe they're not really trying to harm the protagonist. Maybe they're just there with a dark air about them, but they're really good. They just go about it the wrong way. Maybe it's just a giant misunderstanding. There's a lot of possibilities when you create that scenario there. You can create it super dark. You can make it light, however you want. It's just a weird scenario that I came up with when I was sitting in the church. And it goes hand in hand with this next scenario too of the thumping coming from the basement. In my actual story and my experience, we had the group of people upstairs and the group of people downstairs. Upstairs, we were playing music. Downstairs, we have no idea what they were doing. So what if someone double booked a church and the upstairs group is very genuine? They want to play music and that's what they know, but they don't know what's going on downstairs. What if that downstairs group is trying to summon a demon and they're doing some weird occult ritual down there to summon a demon? And that beast that breaks down the stairwell is the demon, and everyone in the main floor is being hunted by that demon. What happens there? Well, if it's not really a demon and they're not doing occult stuff, what if they had trapped some animal down there and this animal is just trying to flee for its life, and it comes upstairs and it's trying to ask everyone else for help? What happens if the escaped thing from that hidden secret group wants help and wants freedom and is terrified for its life? What if it just wants to go home and the main character on that main floor can help that creature get home? It flips the script completely. You see a monster break out and you immediately think, I'm going to die. But that is a possibility. You can make the story that way. It's your story, write it however you will. If you want it to be a monster that is intent on destroying everything, cool, do it. But you don't have to limit it to that. You can make it so it's not a monster intent on destroying, it's a monster intent on going home. It's a super peaceful monster and it just wants to go home, and now it's trapped in an unfamiliar environment. Maybe it doesn't know how it got there. Maybe the group downstairs kidnapped it. In that situation, what are you doing with the group downstairs? Are you hiding from them? Are you trying to stop them from summoning something else? Are you fleeing for your lives and now this group got what it wanted? It's able to summon these creatures and have them overrun the world. Who knows? There's a lot of possibilities there. And as for the final scenario, where I flip the script even more and change the perspective, you're no longer just a person in the audience. You are the actual instructor that was hired to come teach a class. It's not unheard of for a famous person to have stalkers. If you get your name out there enough, you're likely to have a stalker. People will want to know who you are and they will want to follow you. They will want to know your life and everything about it. Though whether or not you know who all your stalkers are is a different story. You will probably know that there are some, and you'll probably know who some of them are, and you'll probably have restraining orders against some of them. That also allows you to deal with them differently. What if one of your more deranged stalkers finds a way to bring you to them? They change their name and they move and they choose this whole location. They give an actual reason for you to get there. What happens when you get in that room and you realize you're trapped with your stalker? What do? Do you actually play because you were hired to do it? Do you try to flee? Are you scared for your life because this is a stalker that you know will harm you? Maybe it's also a stalker that's not too dangerous and they just really want to hear you play. And you play and they let you go. Or do they just keep you kidnapped and you can no longer play everywhere else? Are you trying to escape? And if you do this and you're trapped there, are others trying to come rescue you? There's a whole bunch of possibilities with that too, just based on being famous and having a stalker. I've said it many times over the course of this podcast and all my other episodes. Inspiration can come anywhere. It's just a matter of asking the right questions and looking for it. I didn't expect to go to an ukulele jam and think of a cult scenario. It just happened to be the right environment, and seeing the other group of people walk out of a door and not realize they were actually down there. That opened my mind to so many different possibilities because I just didn't think of it until I saw it. So if you're ever anywhere, just watch your surroundings, watch the different things. You never know what's going to inspire you. You don't know what is going to happen until it actually does happen. You might be sitting there on a park bench one day, feeding birds, and suddenly there might be some dude playing an instrument at the fountain. And as he's playing the instrument, a creature goes up to him. And you think to yourself, his music summoned that squirrel. Wait, if his music summoned a squirrel, what else can his music summon? There's a lot of possibilities. Just up to you to look for them and be open to the idea that they exist. Though, my friend, it's getting to that point of the episode where I have to call it a day. Though before I do, I have a writing prompt for you. Write a story about an individual who decided to go to a music jam session, and as soon as he plays his instrument, a creature is summoned. I don't care the genre, whether it's horror, fantasy, romance, or action. I don't care the format, whether it's poetry, flash fiction, journal entry, or even a song. As always, all I really care about is you have fun with it and make the most of it. Till next time. And now really is time for me to call it a day. If you enjoyed the content of this week's episode, please give me a follow. And if you want any more content from the Jinks'd world, visit my website at jinksdworld.com. That is JINKSDWORLD.com. Until next time, have fun writing.